Okay, so everyone, welcome back for, I believe this is our fourth roundtable discussion. Welcome back to Corey. I know Corey, you were a little under the weather last time. We're so glad to have you back with us. It's so awesome. And last time we talked between myself, Brooke, and Lakyn, we were discussing pregnancy with in terms of invisible illnesses. So we thought it would be a good lead up after that to go into talking about motherhood. Um, so with that, we'll just kind of get the ball rolling, and again, we'll just kind of start it off. I'll ask the question, and whoever wants to answer first can go ahead and answer first. At what point would you say that your children realized that mommy is just a little different than everyone else?
I've got actually a pretty quick answer for that. So I'll just say real quick. My daughter is 5.5, and she actually, I don't know if it's because we've been separate from like normal life for so long because COVID, or if we were like we traveled a lot before COVID. She just thinks this is normal, to be honest. A lot of my friends have chronic illness, and so she's very exposed to everything. And she thinks nothing of it for my friend to have a feeding tube. She thinks nothing of it to see somebody in a wheelchair. She thinks that even I bought like Target. I think I mentioned last time has like little sets for kids to have like neck braces for their dolls and stuff. So again, I mean, she knows mommy's got something and we have to go to the doctors a lot. But I also try to really normalize it for her, knowing that she's been pre-diagnosed with this, because I don't want her to feel like she's any different. I want her to feel like we are just as capable as anybody else. Our lives just, no two lives are the same, right? So no two moms are the same. No two people are the same. So she has no idea of anything because we're all different, right?
Totally agree with
Yep.
that for sure.
Yeah, mine is only about to be 3, but still kind of too young to know the concept of other mommies. But yeah, I'd say it's pretty similar to Corey's right now. And I think it's something that I am needing to learn how to approach, because I use like a wheelchair, cane, or something like that when I'm not feeling well. And that's how we explain that to her. Like sometimes mommy is fine to walk, but when she's not feeling well, she uses those things. And we came into a few situations recently where, a lady is walking with a cane and Rain will be like, oh, she's sick today. So I have to figure out how to, kind of approach things with her a little bit differently, describing what's going on with me. But yeah, it's actually, I think we've talked about this before. I think it's like a gift to the kids almost. Like they don't have an option to not be inclusive and grow up in accessible environments. And I just think that's really important. So, I mean, I'm not happy that we all have to suffer for that, but there's some silver linings.
What? You don't want me to suffer for that? So I guess I have a little bit of a different story here, and that's why we're all together, right? So my kids, my oldest children, very much remember the other me. I was a very active mother with them. They were raised working out with me every morning, going on runs, playing outside in the afternoon. Fridays was our museum day, and every Friday after my workout, we'd go to a museum. And there were times we'd hit like 2 museums close to each other, and they were just raised with a mother that didn't know how to slow down. And so I think one of my hardest parts about being a mother with chronic illness and at times very physical disabilities and other times not so much, is like mourning for what my children have lost, as they mourn it. My oldest two, a lot after I had my fusion, were like all right, mom, like, go play on the park with us again, you know? And it's like, I'm not well enough. It doesn't work that way. um, so there was many months, especially with my oldest, and he would come up to me sometimes super upset. I was just like, I wish you could run with me. I wish you could be able to go to a dinosaur museum with me. And as recent as last night, my second oldest son, he turns 8 in a couple weeks. He said, Mom, are you ever going to be better? And I was like, well, what do you mean by better? Because I'm never going to be like I was, but better looks different. I'm better now today than I was 2 years ago. I can do more with you today than 2 years ago. I can drive you to school now when I used to not be able to. So what's your definition of better? So we just kind of like talked about how, you know, health goes up and down. And when I am well enough to do stuff, I really embrace doing stuff. Specifically, like this Halloween, our kids got invited for the 3rd time to go to a pumpkin patch, and it was in a week and a half time period. And I like moaned to my husband about it because I didn't want to go again. But then I said in the same breath, like, while I'm physically well enough to be the person taking them to a pumpkin patch, I feel like I should say yes and take them to the pumpkin patch. So I did. Like, but like, I don't know, you just have to be involved when you're well enough to be involved. And I think our kids just get to learn and grow with us. And like Lakyn said, their understanding is just different. My son saw someone using the wheelchair cart in the grocery store, and he's like, hey, Mom, you used to use those. And I was like, yeah, sometimes I still do.
Interesting. Interesting. Very good. So again, I mean, another reason why I think it's awesome that we're doing this, because I mean, all three of you are like kind of on different ends of the spectrum when it comes to having kids. So it's nice to see this progression for people watching this stuff, which is really good. My next question, I guess, is, I mean, I've been trying to figure out how to say this. How would you think you would want to like? 'Cause there is a time, especially for Corey and Lake, and like there's going to be a time for you guys when you're going to have to talk to your kids about this sort of stuff, and they're all going to get older. They're going to have questions. What are some of the trying things that you're gonna voice to them about that, you think? And Brooke, obviously, you can share what you had to talk with your boys about.
Yeah, I first off, I want to say I'm not trying to like look bored. I've started recently feeling like my neck brace isn't holding my head up enough. So I've gotten back to like holding my own head up. So I'm sorry about this. Yeah, I noticed you doing it too. And that's what
I
and
hold my
Corey.
head up and I'm fused.
Yeah, we're all holding our own heads up.
I do
Anyway.
it even driving.
It is funny. I just kind of realized you're all kind of in the same position right now. I just
Yeah.
realized that.
Our heads
It's a
are too
mess.
heavy. Our brains are too smart for our body.
There we go.
They weigh too much.
With my daughter, I've just always been really honest with her, maybe too honest. I mean, everybody thinks this, but I think my kid's pretty smart. Like she's pretty advanced for her age. So I think I talk to her with too much detail and a little bit too honest sometimes, but those are conversations I'm really dreading coming up because, you know, like right now she's like, Mommy, come play with me. I'm like, oh, I can't, like, I can't get off the couch. But you know, if worse comes to worse, I still can pick her up and do those things. But shortly, I mean, my surgery is in 2 weeks and I really can't lift her much after that, or I really will not be able to do those. And that's something I'm dreading. We've been trying to kind of get her into like, okay, mommy's not going to pick you up anymore, trying to slowly teach her, but she's so little. It's really hard to get her to understand, you know, they're so little, they don't understand anything outside of like they're little selfish beings at 2, and they don't care what's going on if they don't get their way. So yeah, I hope you guys have some tips for me because I'm dreading those conversations coming up soon.
Well, and I'll say for me, you know, so I guess Lakyn and I are the only ones that have girls. And then Brooke, you've got all boys. You're a boy mom, right? So and I'm going to take this a little different direction, like, and then you just went. So I'm thinking future conversations for me having a daughter, because a lot of people have asked me, and you guys might have covered this talking about pregnancy and stuff, but they've asked me, like, if you knew you had this, and it would have done to your body what it did with the pregnancy, would you have had your child? And of course, my answer is absolutely yes. But moving forward with her, and like I said, you guys might have discussed this, so sorry, but I'm just gonna give my quick little opinion on this. For me, moving forward with her, like the conversation for me that I'm dreading with her, it's not about like explaining her illness to her, because like I said, she's got all the symptoms. It's not about that. It's about, like, she's a little girl. She's got that maternal instinct already in her. She plays with her baby dolls. She talks to me all the time. And I'm going to get, she talks to me all the time about being a mommy. You know, she wants to be a mommy like me. And I didn't get to share with you guys my pregnancy story, but I will tell you just this quick little tidbit about it. It was very hard, just like most of ours. And I was told that I wouldn't, before I knew I had EDS, I was told that it would be hard for me to conceive because I had uterine fibroids, and that I probably wouldn't even be able to get pregnant. So my husband and I decided we would try for 6 months. If we didn't, we were going to start the adoption process, because to me, I think adoption is a beautiful thing. And I would love a child no matter, I don't care where they came from. I wanted a baby, or even a kid. I didn't care. So with my daughter now, taking it back to the point, I guess, when she talks to me about being a mom, it's going to be a hard thing for me to tell her one day, Zara, I don't think it would be a healthy decision for you to get pregnant. And I know a lot of EDS women out there will probably kick my butt for saying this, but it's how I feel, and you're allowed to feel how you feel. And I support your feelings on it. But for me, having a daughter, no, I would not trade anything about this. But knowing this, would I have another child at this point? No, I would not. Because I wouldn't want to, number one, pass it on to another child, another person. And number two, no telling what it would do to me. It'd probably freaking take me down at this point. But I want my daughter to be able to enjoy motherhood in a way that I'm not able to. And so I try to coax her down when she talks about, having children, because she's seen pictures of my belly and everything else. And sorry, I'll wrap it up. But I try to tell her, Zara, before I had you, I was going to get a baby from somebody else, and it's called adoption. And I was going to love that baby, and God gave you to me, and that was amazing. But one day you might want to get a baby from somebody else that they're not able to take care of, and they want to give you to love. And that'll be your special baby that you can love and take care of and watch grow. And that'll be your child. I want to start opening her mind up to other possibilities of parenthood other than biologically, because it is so dangerous. And just like Brooke was talking about, pieces of what we want to do for our child, or like we were able to do for our child and then we're not, it's hard. It's like bittersweet. You're like, how can you give me this perfect gift of a child, but yet now I struggle to give them what I want to be able to give them. So that's the conversations with her that I am trying to ease into, not necessarily about the illness, because that'll all come, but it's like these really, and then I think, oh, well, God, what about when she gets, she wants to get married. Okay. Like if she whatever, like way she goes in life, but like, okay, so she wants to get married. Well, what, is she going to go like into a marriage telling somebody that, oh, I can't have children? And a lot of people go through that, but like, what? Oh, well, I mean, I can't have children, but I shouldn't have children. And like, I mean, what is this going to even be for her, So that's where I'm like, holy shit, this sucks, So that's all I got to say on that.
No, I totally agree. Go ahead, Brooke.
I will say I was expecting stronger language, because that's what I would use. So I have a couple thoughts running through my head here. So I will try to make these make sense to this. If you can't follow my thought process, just stop me and tell me to elaborate. So I'm going to first piggyback off what Corey said and then actually answer the question. My husband and I have discussed that topic, Corey, a lot about would I have had kids. And we went into our marriage anticipating that I couldn't have kids. And then we did have children, and not just one. Obviously, it turned out I am quite fertile. I don't know what doctors were smoking. But it was really dangerous for me. Even like before, like knowing all of this, I lost 50 pounds. I had PICC lines. I had, my first pregnancy, they suggested I medically abort. Because they're like, you're kind of choosing your child's life over yours right now, and yet I kept, not on purpose, most of them getting pregnant. And you can only control that so much. But my husband and I spoken about it multiple times this last couple of years, and we said, would we have had biological children had we known? The answer is absolutely not. Would we trade the children we have for anything in the world? Absolutely not. They are here against all odds and all statistics. And so they obviously are exactly where God intended them to be. Does it make it very difficult for me? Yes. So I have 4 boys, and they range, they're just getting into sports, and their boys are rough. And they're rough with each other regardless of being in sports or not. 2 of my children have EDS. And one of them is much more like fragile to say than the other. He's a much skinnier built, and a much more petite. And we're going to have the conversation with our kids about, hey, like, you have this genetic disorder because you're a male, like, you're a little more protected in general with your joints, but you also have to be like smart so you don't damage your joints, right? So like, you can't just go play football like your friends. Like, hold on, sweetie. You found your charger. Oh, yes. Awesome.
It was in your room.
Oh, I thought so. So, like, I can't be like, yeah, I'm gonna sign this waiver for you to play football. Sorry, you cannot play football. There are other safer sports. Like, so that's the conversations I'm starting to have with the kids. And honestly, I kind of play this role in parenting across the board. I always answer my children's questions totally honestly, and I answer no more than their question. Like, I answer their question age appropriate completely. Don't try to like twist it or, dance around anything. And I only answer that question. If they ask another question, then we answer that question. But a lot of times, like, I think they're going to ask another question, and I'm kind of like, now we're going to dive into the deep stuff. And then they're like satisfied with the answer, and they're like, oh, okay. And the conversation is for another day.
Awesome. That's good. So, I mean, I apologize. I honestly can't remember if we answered this or not in the last discussion that we had. But is it 100% certain that when you have a child that your invisible illnesses are going to be passed on to the next child, or is it just a chance? I mean, what are the odds of that stuff? I mean, I'm sure you guys don't know the exact answer, but do you have any idea? Like, do you have friends within the community who were able to have kids and not have the same issues that you guys did?
I was told by a geneticist at Hopkins that I had a 50% chance of passing it on. And I think something really interesting about this group is that Brooke has 2 kids, but 2 boys. And we all know that EDS is way more common in females, or at least more commonly diagnosed. So I think it'd be really interesting to figure out her kids' chances of getting it. But yeah, I was told about like 50-50 chance. So I don't know anybody in my family like above me who has it. So it's, yeah, I guess genetics is just really fun.
One thing too that I also wanted to throw out there, and that was the same thing that I was told too, Lakyn. But the other thing I wanted to throw out is, you know, EDS affects everybody so differently. Just like Brooke was saying, like her 2 sons that have it, like one is more fragile than the other. For me, I'm pretty sure I got this from my mom who died at 52. And my mom had like mitral valve prolapse, and she, had some other things that I don't have. So that's, and to kind of like circle back to like, we were talking about like having babies and passing it on to your kids stuff. That is one argument that a lot of people do make that want to continue on having biological children, is that number one, you may or may not pass it to your child. It's like a 50% chance supposedly. And number two, if you do pass it to your child, they might not have it as bad as you, or they could have it worse than you. I mean, to me, that's not a dice I'm willing to throw. I am not that big of a gambler, but some people are okay doing that, and that's their journey to fulfill for sure. So I did want to throw that out there as well when we talk about like genetically passing it on. You never know. It's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like most things, 50%, but I will say, my kids, it's more unusual for males to have it. I have a friend who only has boys and has a son with it. And so that's one out of her 3. So far, 2 of my 4 do. My youngest is too young to really know, especially with his build. I mean, you saw him come in here. He's 4 and he's solid. And my thought is, what's the chance of it like being recessively passed on? Is like my child who doesn't have it carrying it as a recessive gene, and could they pass it on? Because I'm pretty sure I got it from my mother's side of the family. My mother like doesn't really show any signs, but she has some signs of things that are kind of comorbid with EDS. And the major flexibility is like in her family history, and migraines, and like a bunch of like the classic signs that would not be put like together with things and their health problems. And it's like it's my mom's line, which would be coming down through females. So I'm not sure about, that's my question, which is not an answer, it's a question. Like, where do we know enough to know, how is it being passed down? Where is it showing up recessively? But I will also say my kids are kind of like opposite statistics. I have 3 redheads and a brunette, and statistically it should be the other way around. So,
one thing too that I was going to say, when we sit there and like, because when we start getting these diagnoses, like Richard, I'm sure you've learned enough and studied enough about all of us little zebras now. It's like we have to go through such a process, and it's like, the geneticists, they ask so much of our family history. And the interesting thing is, even I had like a pulmonologist this week asking me my family history, trying to kind of piece it all together, see maybe like what could be at risk for me, and just kind of following the paper trail, I guess, right? Or the DNA trail to see what made sense. But the thing is, like we said, I think what Brooke said is with men, because their joints are less lax than women just by nature, I guess, testosterone. You could have EDSers in your family that are men passing it down, and they never showed many symptoms at all. They could have thought, and by the way, you could have women that thought they had rheumatoid arthritis and it was a misdiagnosis of EDS. You could have people in your family that thought that they had MS because of lesions on their brain and all the other things. But now we're finding out that EDS patients have lesions on their brains many times, and it's not MS. So it's just so ambiguous that it's really hard to figure out like where it came from, who passed it to who. My friend Jessica Krakowski, she just found out like that she finally got her DNA results back, or genetic results back. And it said that she had classical like EDS as well as the spondyloplastic or whatever, which means she got it from both of her freaking parents, both. And her dad passed away from cancer. Nobody in the family ever knew that her father had it. And her mom has been diagnosed with MS. So it's like, we're still in such new waters, I feel like. And I'm pretty sure you ladies would agree with that. Like we are like, I mean, nobody knows, like it's a shit show. Like, an EDS shit show.
Yeah, I can totally understand that for sure. So I just got the little timer thing that we only have about 9 minutes left in the Zoom meeting before it cuts off on us. So I guess the final question I'll leave you ladies here is, what is that one piece of information you think you would share with future mothers who are watching this video to help them with their journey?
I think I have two, one like more fluffy and one more practical. It kind of goes back to your last question too, when you asked about our friends who have this. And I think that's what's really special about this group is there are a lot of people, all of us are active on Instagram. There are a lot of people with EDS active on Instagram. There are not a ton who have had children because maybe they couldn't, or they realized, if I would be like this before I had kids, I wouldn't have either. So it's really special to kind of have this group here that are mothers going through these things too, because it's one thing to be sick, and it's another layer to be sick with a child. So I think finding community like this has been so special to me. I mean, I think it was a couple weeks ago, Corey and I were like both having like mental and physical breakdowns, and we were like messaging back and forth. And it's really special to have people who get it, who really get it, like who get having a kid and being sick. My practical piece of advice, which has been like a lifesaver to me, is I made a yes space in my house. So my daughter's playroom is a yes zone. There's nothing in there she can't touch. There's nothing in there she can hurt herself with. There's nothing in there she's going to get in trouble with. And so if I'm having a bad day, I literally can put her in the playroom and lay on the couch for an hour, and I know she'll be fine. Or like, if something's going wrong with me, it's been so nice to have that yes space where she can just like be, and I don't have to worry about her. So I think that's a practical tip.
Okay, very good.
I'll say something because Brooke's usually good at also giving advice, so I'll say it so she can wrap it up like so good.
Whatever, I'm gonna let you do that.
So good. So my biggest thing is, number one, give yourself grace. Your kid knows love. Okay, that's what our children know. They don't know Cindy Lou got to go ice skating and I only got to sit here. I mean, you know what? Well, I mean, yeah, they do know that, but at the same time, they feel your love. And when I look back at my childhood with my mother, it wasn't the things that the crazy, wild and crazy things that we did, because we did do wild and crazy things, but that's not what I remember about my time with my mom. It was the sweet, simple things. So just know that your love is enough for your child. Give yourself grace. But your kid, they just love them. That's your job. Just love them. It's okay. You can love them the same from the couch as you can from kicking a ball in the front yard. It doesn't matter. Just love your kid. That's what they'll remember.
Awesome. And Brooke, your thoughts? I don't mean to rush you, but the timer's on 6 minutes right now, so I just want to give you a heads up before you get cut off.
Well, now I feel like pressure. Thanks, Corey. Um, so my advice is twofold a bit. I work with moms' maternal mental health. I work with mental health. And so my first go-to is you are enough for your child. You are judging yourself more harshly than your child is judging you. And they love you just as much for doing something simple with them as just being their cheerleader. My practical stuff is like choose your spoons wisely. It may be cook dinner tonight, or it may be I'm going to use that and I'm going to play a board game instead. Which one do you think like is most important that night based on how your children are that day? So you might be able to manage one card game. You might be able to manage one guess who round with each child. Sometimes I have like a full-on migraine and I literally like put on earbuds and we watch a movie together that they like. And I just can't sit there like all bundled up trying to cope with the noise. But as soon as dad gets home, I go take a bath. So it's just like, how can you be involved in your children's life, even on your bad days? Some days that does not include being involved in their life and like the door's locked and the blanket's over my head. But if I want to say is like, just decide how to use your spoons, and using your spoons is not going to be the way someone with endless energy on Instagram portrays her life.
Awesome. Awesome. So, ladies, I think this was a really, really good talk we had tonight. I mean, I believe this is definitely like, I guess, the deepest that I saw you three. When I could tell how emotional and how tough it was to talk about. But I think that people watching this in the future, it'll definitely help them. It'll make them feel better about being mothers, going through with their invisible illnesses. So that's all the questions I have for you. If you guys have anything else you want to say, you got about 3 minutes. If not, we're good to go.
Thank you for doing this once again. This is great, and I hope all y'all out there feel inspired and like you've got people that hear you, because we get you.
Yeah, I wanted to thank Richard again, because, we started with like kind of in your zone, like the braces, and we very quickly went rogue and we are like, let's talk about being moms. So I appreciate you letting us get out what we feel a message is on our hearts. It's been really special to get to do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, thank you again. Please like, subscribe, and be ready for the next part that comes out, whenever that might be.
You could have had all my kids line up and say that for you. Like and subscribe.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah, fine.